Welcome to the PC Gaming Weekspot, your recap of the last 7 days in PC video gaming. My name is Colm, and joining me this week, oh my god, he killed Kenny, the naughty, naughty boy. It's Mr. Matthew Castle.
Hello.
Hello, Matthew. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I killed Kenny.
You did. And as I said,
Since when?
Since the, late 90s, when did South Park start? Basically, there's a bit of an amalgamation of a cultural reference / something that would have been in information snacks. I'm trying to be more economical.
Right.
So there was, it's not really a cultural reference. I doubt your average person on the street would know this happened, but the South Park boys, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, signed an agreement last week, or signed a deal worth $900 million with Viacom CBS to produce 6 more seasons, a few specials, and a 3-dimensional computer game.
Wow.
Developed in-house, not with the backing of French publishing giant Ubisoft.
Really?
Yes, yeah. So more pissing on snowballs and throwing it at the residents of South Park. So that'll be exciting. I can't imagine young Matthew Castle was ever into South Park. I'd imagine he turned.
No,
were you?
It. Yeah.
Okay.
It was the right age for it. And, yeah. I loved the film. I thought the film was great.
But like,
I wasn't mad about the 2 games, the RPGs.
I thought the Stick of Truth. Again, like at the time, even in when did that come out? Was that 2015, 14, 15?
It was earlier than that, wasn't it?
Maybe it was.
It was on 360.
Was it? Was it that?
I think so.
But I thought that was like a nice proof of concept. I thought the Fractured But Whole actually had more, because it was simple. The gameplay was like dead simple, whereas the Fractured But Whole kind of it embellished it a little bit and had made it a bit more challenging, a bit more involved. But like, yeah, it's not like they were.
It's kind of like, they're always, basing these on like, something that happened in one of the episodes, and there's a big difference between a gag that can sustain 22 minutes and 20 hours of an RPG. That was both of them. Like, you kind of get this initial rush of like, oh yeah, that's neat, and then
it's like the television show. Look at them.
And then after a while, you're like, I wish this was just more like the show and less like a gimmicky episode of the show.
I don't know. I like all of these. Like, what does South Park have a place in 2021? I mean, like, to be fair, I haven't watched an episode of South Park in a very long time. The only thing I know that they did a pandemic episode, and ratings wise, it actually did very good in the US, like a year ago or something like that. So maybe there's still an appetite for it. It just, I don't know, like, because at the time, as you say, we were the right age at the time, and it felt edgy. It was like, The Simpsons, that's rubbish. Look at this. They curse.
I never thought that. Who thought that? It was different, Simpsons. You didn't go like, oh, time to move on from The Simpsons. Not back then, anyway.
Was The
Simpsons?
Yeah, The Simpsons it did have some staying power. I'm just thinking, because it was
South Park was like late 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, but like, you would have been up to what, like season 10, 11 of The Simpsons? You would have been nearing the end of that, like, initial rush.
Still fine, though.
When did The Simpsons become actively bad?
I couldn't pin it to a specific thing. I mean, I think I like it beyond the point it becomes. The little bits I've seen nowadays, I haven't watched it for years, seems pretty dire, but there's stuff I'm like, oh, that was good. And then people are like, oh, no, that's bad. Oh, okay.
Now I know. For future,
sorry.
For future, I will change my opinion. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks you.
Thanks for letting me know so delicately.
It's all on Disney Plus, and I've kind of flirted with the idea of watching The Simpsons because of the fact that everyone says, I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you are. We all are, of saying like, oh, it has been worse now for longer than it was good. And I'd like to actually test that theory because I haven't watched it in years. And there are, multiple years of Simpsons episodes that I haven't watched. And I'd be like, was it actually as bad as people make out? But
I'm
it's
not
also
sure.
like,
what is this? The cartoon show Weekspot?
That's our spin-off show starting next week. Well, look, before we get on to video games proper, we need to take a quick word from our sponsors. It's like a television show. It's an ad break. This episode of the PC Gaming Weekspot is sponsored by Wild Bill's Craft Beverage Company.
Colm, are you a fan of fizzy drinks?
Yes, I would say so.
Then you should try a handcrafted soda pop from Wild Bill's Craft Beverage Company. They come in a range of exciting flavours. Would you like to hear some?
I would love to hear some, Matthew.
There's a black cherry, orange cream, Dr. Bill's, which is molasses flavoured, and strawberry cream, which is flavoured like shortcake. Can you imagine such a thing?
I can.
Well, now that you've imagined it, you can go and order it. And if you use the discount code CHEERS15, you get 15% off your first order. So head to drinkwildbills.com and use that discount code CHEERS15, 15 the number, for 15% off your first order.
Right, Matthew, we can get into the video games proper now.
If we did do a week spot about cartoons, we'd probably be able to go to some fun shows with Reed Pop.
That is true, yeah. They do a lot of
Comic-Cons
and stuff like that, yeah. Maybe we'll talk.
Maybe it's more for us.
Yeah, maybe
for being the PC Gaming Week Spot. Maybe we should have been doing this about, what do kids like?
Anime? They like anime.
What's that Netflix thing? Riverdale. Is that a thing?
Is that popular? I mean,
kids like that.
I don't know. I'd imagine a section of children like it, but I don't know if it's.
We should have been talking about Rick and Morty all this time.
Yeah.
Instead of Desperados 3 or whatever it is we talk about on here.
Well, look, let's get into it then. Matthew, could you grab your news crank and open that gob of yours, because I indeed have some information snacks for you.
Info snacks for his gob.
So, Matthew, carrying on as we have done over the last couple of weeks, the first information snack I have for you isn't the tastiest, sadly, because we need to turn our attention again to Activision. So, and everything that's been happening over there. Firstly, J. Allen Brack, who is the president, or was the president of Blizzard since 2018, has stepped down from his role to, as was worded in a statement by Activision, quote, pursue new opportunities. The second bit of Activision news is that the Overwatch League and its advertisers are at loggerheads somewhat, as you would imagine, and some are dropping out of partnerships. I think I saw Kellogg's and State Farm, which is an insurance company in the US, and others are reevaluating their position. I think Coca-Cola is one of them. And finally, our last bit of Activision news is that they are now also being sued by shareholders. And this is apparently because Activision didn't tell shareholders about the investigation that was taking place into the alleged toxic work environment. And shareholders are now suing because the share price has dropped.
It's so touching when people decide to take action because their share price has dropped.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, again, Imogen is doing a bang up job on rockpapershotgun.com. Have a look at all of her stories and so many others out there as well. Keeping it serious for a minute, Steve Gaynor, who's the co-founder of Fulbright, developer behind Gone Home, Tacoma, he is no longer the creative director at the studio or on the studio's upcoming game Open Roads. He is a writer, but he hasn't been managing the day-to-day since January of this year. This all only came out this past week because Polygon did a story on how 12 people have left the studio under Gaynor's management because his management was, causing them distress. Check out the Polygon story.
It's a good article on Polygon and kind of interesting as well because I think when the stuff happened with Ubisoft and Activision, you got the idea, some people are like, these big companies, it's all corrupt. And then you've actually had a lot of people saying, well, this behavior is kind of like rife in indie as well. And sort of a general kind of day of reckoning coming for, people at every kind of level. Quite often dudes, it should be said. So yeah, that's an interesting one, that Polygon piece.
No. Delays, Matthew. Delays.
Right, now back to the usual bullshit.
This is becoming a regular feature on the PC Gaming Weekspot. So, do you remember Saber Interactive's Evil Dead game that was announced during last year's Game Awards? Of course you don't.
Oh, right, no. Sorry, what am I meant to say for this bit to work? No.
So, this was meant to be coming out, I believe, this year, but it's now coming out in February 2022. But the reasons for the delay, maybe people will be a little bit excited about, is that they are adding single player. And this was... So it's... that's the story, anyway.
The best single player campaigns are crowbarred
Afterthoughts.
In at the last minute. That sounds, to quote the films, groovy.
Also,
he says that.
Let's say he does. I have zero knowledge on the Evil Dead.
You've not seen Evil Dead?
Apart from like the famous scenes, I don't know. Yeah, I know very little about it. It looks very silly, Matthew. It's very silly.
It's a weird film. It's got some like absolutely like really grim stuff in it and some really daft stuff. So never really know where you're meant to sit on the Evil Dead, but this isn't a film podcast.
Neither cartoons nor films. Not MMOs either, really, typically, but Amazon's MMO, New World, that destroyed a couple of 3090 cards a couple of weeks ago.
That's what it's now famous for.
That has been delayed as well. It was meant to be out on the 31st of this month, and it's now coming out on the 28th of September, and that is because of bugs and polish. They're
also adding a single player mode.
Apparently, it's a preview say it's actually all right. So, I don't know. That might surprise, but either way. Talking about dates, and maybe in more positive news, according to GamesBeat, EA are aiming to release the Dead Space remake at the end of 2022. No date was known up to last week. And again, this is all apparently and allegedly and so on and so forth. And in other Dead Space related news, this might excite you, Matthew, maybe, although you might be up to your eyeballs in Assassin's Creed Valhalla stuff. But Assassin's Creed Valhalla game director Eric Baptizet will be the game director. Now, does that excite you? Are you ambivalent to that?
I don't know. It's really dumb. Like, when these stories happen, you see all the comments under a line like, oh God, I hope they don't make it like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And you're like, that's not really how this stuff works. I don't think like there's someone who is like, they inherently have Assassin's Creed Valhalla's design in its bones. I mean, you're talking about game making on such a vast scale. To just assume that someone went, oh, he made that, you would imagine it's more like, oh, that person shepherded this thing at huge scale, along with many other people who would shepherd this stuff as well. So they're probably like a safe pair of hands, rather than it's this idea that like Assassin's Creed Valhalla is like the work of some sort of the very distinct vision of some auteur type is just absolutely daft. Like Dead Space, like I would never say that they're just like coloring inside the lines, but because it is a remake and you have this structure in place. You'd think some of the creative decision making's kind of been done like for you. Like there are more criteria in place of like things you have to be hitting with that game. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit tough. You literally see people being like, "Oh, it's gonna be full of fucking Vikings," and you're like, "No, I doubt it will be."
Not. Probably not. I don't think there are many Vikings in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Maybe there are.
That's a segue and a half.
It's a long time since I played it, but I should correct myself. It is no longer called PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It's now called PUBG Battlegrounds. So PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And that is, it appears to be that this is because future games in the PUBG world, they want to be called PUBG whatever. So maybe Glenn Schofield's The Callisto Protocol will be PUBG The Callisto Protocol.
Surely it would be The Callisto Protocol, a PUBG story.
A PUBG story. Ooh, that's more artsy. I like it.
That's more like the Star Wars bollocks, isn't it?
Yeah. Focus Home Interactive, the publisher of A Plague Tale and Vampire, have acquired Dotemu, who the developer of Streets of Rage 5.
I was just assuming it was .emu.
What did I say? Dotemu?
Well, I don't know. I'm genuinely curious. I've never heard it said out loud.
I don't know if have I ever said it out loud? I'm not sure.
No, it's probably not emu. That sounds odd. Dotemu.
Orville? I don't know. But anyway, we'll the only thing that would affect me is that maybe we don't get a Streets of Rage 5 perhaps, which would be a shame, but we'll see. But that wasn't the big acquisition over the last week, because Embracer Group, everyone's favourite Swedish firm that is just gobbling up game studios left, right and centre, it has acquired 8 more, with the notable ones being 3D Realms, who the publisher of Duke Nukem 3D, and there was actually other Duke Nukem story over the weekend. Did you see that? There was a trailer for Duke Nukem Begins, which was being developed around the same time as Duke Nukem Forever. It looked like a Duke Nukem game. They also have acquired Digix Art. Again, another one I've never said out loud. They are the developer behind 1111 Memories Retold and the upcoming Road 96, which is out in a week's time, I think. Ghost Ship Games, the developer of Deep Rock Galactic, and Easy Trigger, the developer of Hunt Down. Embracer Group are just, buying everyone. THQ Nordic, Koch, what was the other one they bought? Gearbox. A lot of money. Your final information snack. There wasn't much to note from EA's latest earnings call. Maybe something that might be of interest to listeners and viewers, that Mass Effect Legendary Edition sales were above EA's expectations. But
I love me a sales expectations story.
Well,
my news gob is happy.
That tells you that they could get behind Mass Effect, a series which they haven't really been getting behind in recent years. But the big story revolved around Battlefield 2042. CEO Andrew Wilson said, quote, "You should understand that Battlefield 2042 really forms the foundation for what we believe the future of a live service around Battlefield is, which over time will include a mobile launch, will include some free-to-enter components, and really change the nature of what happens from launch to launch. So while an every other year launch probably makes sense as we think about it today, we're really focused on 365-day engagement in the franchise at a platform level across any device that consumers may want to play on." Battlefield going free to play, Matthew?
Oh yeah, I love some free to enter components. That gets me hot under the collar.
Does any actual commentary on on Battlefield maybe going free to play?
I know this is like to investors and not to the public, but man alive, what a drab way of talking and thinking about games.
It is money. Like
I know, but it's just I know these pictures about longevity and games of service and whatever. They just don't speak to me. I feel like whenever one of these kind of games comes along and it feels like it's asking you to basically commit to it for the next 5-10 years or whatever, I just won't play it at all. Like, rather than play a bit, I don't want to, I'm so hungry for just self-contained experiences these days. But, and they have to, better to be upfront about it and, rather than say like it's going to be X and then you get it and realize it is, the vision for it's kind of coming down the line. I don't know. It's just this promise of like trying to get you to buy a game on the promise of like what it's eventually going to be or could be down the line. I'm finding that quite tiresome.
Big time.
But that's, some people love it and, I've never been a big time commitment gamer, like I've never done an MMO and, this feels like it kind of occupies that space now. So,
it would like the only reason I play the big shooters is for the campaigns, so it's definitely not for me. But I've liked Battlefields in the past. I loved Bad Company 2. I thought was great. I played a fair amount of whichever the World War One was. Was that just called Battlefield 1? Battlefield 1, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. But it feels like you get a big dose of something, right? This, you get everything there, and there is DLC, and the games expand down the line. But here it's this sort of, promising 365-day engagement.
It's too many days.
I mean, there's nothing I want to commit to for 365 days a year. Apart from like
waking up every morning,
sleeping, drinking Pepsi.
365 days of Pepsi.
A Pepsi a day? Think that's bad?
Probably not great.
You're gonna have to really mush up the news going forward because my teeth in my info gob have absolutely disintegrated under all that Pepsi abuse.
But yeah, those are your information snacks. So let's get on to
pour it into my gob.
Let's get on to the meteor stories. As Hugh has a choice of 2 options for your main course actually here. So yeah, take it away, Hugh.
Hello, I'm Hugh Edwards. Working in news is exciting.
Yes, headlines and hot takes is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where we take you through the bigger news stories of the past week. And Matthew, look, you are a romantic, not when it comes to actual romance, but when it comes to video games.
What do you mean, not when it comes to actual romance?
Well, we spoke about that on last week's PC Gaming Weekspot. You don't like games that deal with emotions and...
Oh, I thought you meant in real life.
Right, okay, yeah. But... you threw me there. But yeah, so you are more about the art of video games rather than like the money and stuff. You're like, why can't all of these things be free? But so I am going to tell you that the bigger news stories did come from an earnings call, right? But wait, I'm not gonna tell you about facts or figures. I know you're like, yawn, that's boring, Colm. But I can tell you that we are going to be expecting a big franchise, an exciting new franchise, apparently, from 2K. This came out in their quarterly earnings report, and Take-Two Interactive, the parent company of Take-Two, or 2K, I should say, that they are going to be announcing an exciting new franchise, as a quote from them, this August. And apparently the game will be launching sometime between now and April of next year. The direct quote was, later this month, 2K will unveil details of another game planned for launch during this fiscal year. So prior to E3, there was a Reddit leak that revealed a couple of games. Oh, that's spoil. I shouldn't say reveal. We don't know yet. That 2K were supposedly going to be announcing soon. The first of which was a game from Firaxis, the studio behind XCOM. And the game in question would apparently be them taking the XCOM formula and sticking Marvel characters into it. And I think Bloomberg and a few others corroborated the leak as well, saying, yep, this is legit. It will be announced sometime in the future. Now, in the past week, games leaker Jeff Grubb said that this game, this exciting new franchise, might be the Marvel XCOM. The quote from Grub was, the reason that it might still be considered a new property, even though it's a Marvel thing, is that this is not going to pick up any existing franchise in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not even going to be existing characters, so it's not going to have any existing MCU characters, but it should take place in the wider universe. He went on to say that the game is going to focus on the supernatural elements of the Marvel Universe. I don't know if that necessarily means like Blade, but I do think there will be vampires in it, and I don't know if it means mystical Marvel characters, but I think you might see enemies of that type that you're fighting.
Isn't all Marvel's supernatural?
Well, I suppose Iron Man isn't.
Oh, he's scientific. Yeah, I guess you're right.
There are a few that where the person themselves don't have superpowers. They just get in a super
a lot
suit.
of them are like quite magical. But like, I wouldn't be like, if you were to say name a supernatural Marvel character, I don't know if I'd naturally reach for Blade. I'd probably think of like, what Magic Witch or whatever her name is.
Magic Witch, yeah, she's my favourite. But I know you've spoken before about this and how, again, you're not the biggest Marvel fan, but the idea of a Marvel XCOM, you were relatively intrigued by. I remember the last time this came up.
Yeah, I mean, like, I like turn-based tactics games, so like, I don't really care, like, as long as they make them. But yeah, I thought Marvel, with some sort of superpowers, you've got the ability to have some quite unusual character classes. The whole thing about it potentially not being like existing characters, which I think some people are like disappointed by, because it's like, it's Marvel, but you're playing as whatever. The appeal
Magic
of Marvel
Witch,
is the recognizable characters.
Mm-hmm.
But that would fix like the whole kind of permadeath thing, wouldn't it?
It would. It sort of reminds me of when car manufacturers get the hump over damaging their cars in Gran Turismos or whatever. Just sticking in made up characters would get around that. The only thing is then you do sort of lose the allure of the Marvel license, don't you? If you are sticking in, Wardrobe Face and Cuphead, I was going to say. Just, I'm looking at things in the room, if you hadn't noticed.
Wardrobe Face and Cuphead. I mean, I tell you what, I'd rather watch that than frickin' Falcon and Winter Soldier.
But yeah, and I know we've spoken before about like Chimera Squad was probably... Go on.
I thought Chimera Squad felt, when this Marvel stuff came out, it suddenly felt like, was that a prototype for a more a more established sort of mascot characters where like death, you would have to treat death differently, because in Chimera Squad, if any character dies, you fail the mission. So it's not permadeath in the sort of traditional sense. Which would make sense for the Avengers. Like, if any of the Avengers died, you'd have a big problem story-wise, so you could do it like that. I don't know. I'd sort of rather that. Like, I thought that worked fine in Chimera Squad, and I'd rather that and have people you recognise rather than just lots of generic dudes in sort of, spandex. It could be, otherwise you end up going down the route of, what's the TV show about the secret agents? S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You might end up sort of being in that territory where it's just sort of like, here's some people who are sort of associated with the people you're actually interested in, which, could be a problem.
Yeah, I just, if you're using the Marvel license, why wouldn't you have a team of Captain America, Black Widow, well, probably not Black Widow now, given the lawsuit that's going on, but whatever, like, Iron Man, etc., etc.
I mean, they could still, they could still be in the game. Maybe if you have that kind of like base sort of mechanic that these games tend to have, you could be between missions, you're going back and you're like, Bruce Banner is your tech guy and he's doing all your gadgets, and you get to talk to Thor and he does whatever he does. I hope whatever it is more thought out than our. I mean, it's relatively early in the morning, so if our game pitches aren't that convincing, that's why. Just go back and see Thor in his bedroom.
But yeah, like the Chimera Squad, when somebody died during that, they would, because I don't think it would be game over. I think, wasn't it that they would just be taken out of that particular encounter when everyone died? It was game over.
I thought it was one death. I thought it was one death, and as they took damage, damage and mission kind of built up, and they had sort of like debuffs, so you had to kind of heal them up and rest them between missions.
You had
but
to
I'm pretty
heal
sure
them.
if they
You're
outright
right.
died,
you are
it was
right.
game over.
And that, yeah, like it does, when all of this news was coming out, that made more sense, because, try this out and then apply all that to a Marvel XCOM. But then if you're just going to be sticking in made up characters, I mean, to be fair, like it could be made up characters, it could be like maybe just lesser known characters.
Yeah, I'd be up for it if it was maybe like, I think there are certain licenses in the sort of Marvel universe where you can have a bit more, which maybe support like newcomers a bit better. So like, actually, I don't think like whatever. I think the rights are tied up elsewhere. But like X-Men, for example, if you did an X-Men XCOM, which works, it's very 2 X's, of course. There you just have like, hey, it's a fresh class of new students, and you can make them up, and they've all got kind of slightly generic mutant powers, as a lot of characters in X-Men sort of do, and you could, something like that would be maybe thematically neater, and there are definitely ways of doing that. It's a bit harder with the, like, if it's the Avengers, I don't think you could call it like XCOM Avengers and then you play as 6 bogus Avengers. I don't think people would take that.
I mean, Disney does own, like, I don't know who the exact ins and outs of the deal between 2K but I think it was a deal with Marvel Entertainment, which then is owned by Disney, who also owns Fox, which was where the X-Men, like, in terms of films.
Right.
So
I know it's all a bit kind of tied up and confusing, but something like that. It's just this quote about vampires is so weird. The idea of like, oh yeah, I think it's going to be full of vampires. And you're like, oh, fair enough.
We'll see. Maybe it'll be a blade. Yeah, perhaps it will be a blade-led XCOM. Who knows?
It's Blade and Wardrobe Head.
Oh,
together at last.
The team up that everyone is wanting to see.
The sun's coming up, quick! Get in my wardrobe.
See? Match made in heaven.
Actually, can Blade go? Isn't it his whole thing that he can go in the sun?
Details. But yeah, the other game that this could be, and we know even less, I suppose, on this.
Oh my God, we know less than what we were just saying.
I suppose technically, actually, we know more, don't we? Maybe. So basically, Hangar 13, the developer behind Mafia, is also working on a game, again, apparently according to the original Reddit leaker. And this game has been described as, I had it here. Oh yeah, it's been described as, quote, Cthulhu meets Saints Row. Whatever that means. It is codenamed Volt.
Right.
And yeah, those are the sort of the two. You have the XCOM and you have this, whatever this is. I never played the Mafia 3, but I think by all accounts, it was a decent game. I don't know, would that plus this description of Cthulhu meets Saints Row, does that do anything for you?
I don't know. I'm not a big Lovecraft guy. I must admit, the whole thing kind of leaves me quite cold, which is maybe, I don't know, you sort of have to hand in your kind of games card a bit these days. It seems everyone seems to love this stuff, but when is it everyone gets into Lovecraft? Like, what is, because it's not like there's been any, in like in our lifetimes, any great popular culture based on it, I would say.
I don't know, is it just the type of person who likes games and the type of person who likes Lovecraft? Like, I have no interest,
I don't know.
but
I liked Eternal Darkness on the GameCube. That was Lovecrafty. Yeah, like
Cthulhu meets Saints. What is that? Just I suppose, yeah, Lovecraftian but kooky. Is that?
Yeah, fun. A bit like you've done sort of Saints Row meets superheroes, and Saints Row kind of does the Matrix, and Saints Row in Hell. I mean, this doesn't specifically say this is a Saints Row game. I mean, this isn't there. That's something else, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like zany, but with freaking Lovecraft stuff. I don't know. I mean, as a pitch, that does absolutely nothing to me. If I had to pay, if I had all the money in the world and was Mr. Big Games publisher, and someone said Cthulhu meets Saints Row, I wouldn't greenlight that. Because it just, no. I mean, yeah.
So
open world, daft, some kind of monstery stuff.
So basically, out of those two, you would much prefer the Marvel XCOM than.
Yeah, I mean, the cliche with games is like, we don't make what you want. We make what you don't know you want.
It's a conservative slogan as well, I think.
Is it?
Basically, yeah.
You don't know you want this, so maybe it'll be great. A new thing. Being a new thing that doesn't already exist. Earns you like a few natural points of castle interest. But that's counterbalanced by Cthulhu stuff being like anti-points of castle interest. So I guess this ends up at 0, just baseline.
Now this Reddit leaker has some cred because they were accurate about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. So, these could, and as I said, apparently the Marvel XCOM is all but announced pretty much. A little side note, and for anyone that's excited about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, good luck to you. But yeah, Gearbox has said that that'll be launching in early 2022. So yeah, that's something that you couldn't be excited for. Now, in other Take-Two news, very briefly, apparently, again, according to this earnings report, there was a slide in there that mentioned 3 unannounced remasters/remakes. So, pure speculation, Matthew, lay it on me. What would you like to see from 2K when it comes to, or Take-Two, I should say, not 2K. So you're including Rockstar as well. Bully, I suppose, is an easy one, but yeah, what would you like to see get the remake/remaster treatment?
I mean, I thought they have remastered most of their catalogue, haven't they?
So we got the BioShock collection was about 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah, but redone for like Xbox.
Yeah.
For that generation, Xbox One and PS4.
I suppose, yeah, the 2 Mafias now. But yeah, like
I mean, for me, it would be rock. It would probably have to be Rockstar stuff. I mean,
original Red Dead. Yeah,
original Red Dead would make sense. I mean, it doesn't really live anywhere. You can play it backwards compatible on definitely on Xbox. I don't know what the deal is on PlayStation, but remaster that. Finally, get that on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Fill whatever multi-year gap we're bound to have until the next actual Rockstar game.
could have a look at remastering / remaking Vice City if the GTA 6 rumors are to be believed.
Again, it doesn't really fit with like what Rockstar are about and what they're doing. In terms of like
they're remastering GTA 5 a couple of times.
Oh yeah, there's that, but there you get the impression like GTA 5, they're trying to keep it running on every machine because it has GTA Online. Like it's not the campaign; it's purely get GTA Online working on as many things as possible. Where like Vice City, it's like such a self-contained thing. It doesn't really work like that. I mean, it would do gangbusters. There's so much nostalgia and affection for that game, but the idea that I don't know, it's like the antithesis of what Rockstar are now making. That's very, someone else could do it for them, but
that's very fair logic. And now this would be boring for PC, but maybe one of these 3 remakes / remasters is Red Dead 2 on your current gen consoles because of Red Dead Online. Not the most exciting, but
yeah. And that would make sense, and that would follow the model of what they did last gen with GTA 5 for sure. So,
like, is there any 2K series that you'd love to see, or / take to, like, I don't know, the original Mass Effect, Max Payne, the first one and the second one, Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne, a noir love story.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they're so sort of different and of their time. I mean, I don't really know why you do it.
Money.
Most things. Yeah. But you get the impression that a lot of these things happen because it's part of something kind of bigger. Like if you're going to be doing more Max Payne, which I don't think they are.
Fair. Yeah, fair.
It would make sense. It seems random to do it out of nowhere. Yeah.
NBA 2K16.
Right, exactly. Like pick a completely random or a WWE game or something.
Yeah.
Because Borderlands, they did the remastered ones of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't think of any of their other sort of franchises that I'm like super, super into. I mean, some of their XCOM-y stuff, but again, like I feel that stuff does exactly what it needs to do. So
I think Bully might be a shout because of they've been talking about that for a very long time.
They've already done it once because they did the Scholarship Edition.
You're right.
Which was sort of slightly jazzed up for that second gen. So
yeah.
But again, very small, very self-contained. I don't know. Feels like unless Rockstar just have like a lot of people on that, because where they are in development, they have certain people resources free.
Just maybe they do. Just a group was like, just work on that Bully thing that people have been asking for a while. But yeah, that's all in 2K land. And
that was a lot of quite vague speculation from us.
But that's what the people like. They don't like
that's
facts.
What comes to the weak spot for.
Yeah, they don't want facts and figures. They've got Schreier for that. They come to us for just baseless accusations and speculation. All right. I'm going to give you a fact, or at least something that was mentioned in an interview, because it's time for Tech Corner. So all aboard the Steam Deck. I'll get a sound effect for that. So in an interview with PC Gamer, Valve said that they might make different coloured Steam Decks. So, because of that, Matthew, my question to you is, and I do apologise if I've asked you this before, what is your favourite colour?
Ooh. What is my favourite colour? Probably blue. Like boring.
Said with such... Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I just feel like it's like an opportunity to say something about yourself, but I don't really know what different colours mean. I mean, blue's quite conservative. I mean, it's literally conservative here. So, I quite...
Magenta, mauve, indigo.
Yeah, blue's quite good. Not a fan of like yellow.
Not a fan of yellow?
Not really.
Sunshine,
really.
happiness, disgusting.
I like
yeah.
green. Not that. I tell you what, this is odd. This Steam Deck thing being in different colors, because the idea that having that like cosmetic angle when it's quite a profoundly ugly thing, it's sort of, there's something very sort of utilitarian about the Steam Deck, and the idea of trying to dress it up in any way seems sort of daft to me.
I mean,
it's not like the Switch where you get the different sort of Joy-Cons and stuff, because that, it has a kind of a cute look to it, so it kind of makes sense to then, if people want to express themselves a bit more through it. But the idea of look, check this freaking green brute out, it doesn't really, I don't see people playing these on the bus, which is what I associate different colors with.
The bus.
No, like being out and about and handheld game, where the thing is more aesthetically pleasing.
There were a couple of previews. There were a couple of previews over the last week about Steam Deck, all very positive on it. So
yeah, they got me definitely more pumped for it than the first round of coverage, which I didn't think was particularly great. And
very cross.
Huh?
You were very cross.
Well, I wasn't very cross. No, I just I still think there's some weird stuff about it. I still think the pitch of play these quite technically compromised versions of things, which I don't particularly care about, but I think PC gamers do. That's the thing that's puzzled me through this whole thing, is that an area of gaming which has long boasted about its sort of tech advantage over everything is suddenly gloating about this thing where that is so compromised. I don't know. There's something in my head. I can't really balance those 2 points of view. I don't really see why someone. I don't understand why it isn't more premium, I guess, because that's what I associate with expensive PC gaming.
Right? Yeah.
It's surprisingly cheap, and sort of their bar for the tech standard on it is surprisingly low. And I'm not a tech guy at all. That's why I don't really know.
You're not.
No. And that's why I don't know why it's not bothering me. It just I find it odd. There's something off about it. But
well, that was a tech corner, Matthew, where you pulled it back into talking about the actual story.
Not really. My stance on Steam Deck doesn't actually make a single jot of sense. Listening back to all what I've said about it, I'm like, man, that's just the ramblings of a madman.
Well, let's see what ramblings both you and I have when it comes to the video games that we've been playing over the last 7 days.
Show and tell. We can't afford a proper jingle. It's meant to be jingle.
Yes, Show and Tell is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where we take you through the video games that we've been playing over the last week. And probably the biggest game that I have played over the last 7 days is one that isn't out yet, but maybe a few of you watching and listening have already got your grubby mitts on through the beta. And that is Back 4 Blood. Now, I am not the expert on Left 4 Dead, right? There are articles on the website. There's a video. There is tons of content there from people who've actually, played loads of hours of Left 4 Dead and all that. I'm not that person, right? However, after 2 hours, I think we played the campaign for about 2 hours. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I had a really, really good time. So it was myself, Catherine, Ed, and Alice from Rock, Paper, Shotgun. And last week, yes, we got to play a good number of levels from the Back 4 Blood campaign. And I suppose, for those that don't know, Back 4 Blood, upcoming game, I think out in mid-October, from Turtle Rock Studios, the people who made Left 4 Dead. And that's what this is. It is a co-op zombie shooter. You and 3 pals go through maps, killing hordes of zombies with your main aim being to get from point A to point B, which point A safe from, point B safe from, and then you just carry on. And the levels that we played, they varied lightly varied in terms of our goals. The goal was typically, get to the safe room. But there was one area in particular that stood out where we were on a ship where it was like, get off the ship. And then somebody told us, right, you're going to have to plant these bombs on the ship, blow it up. So there was a sort of a set PC nature involved. Had to go on, plant the explosives, get off the ship. I left the other 3 for dust. I was like, you're on your own, kids. But then my selfishness actually turned out to be fruitful for the team because they all got killed by zombies, and it was just like, go your own, Colm.
Send to our listeners.
I know I am. Selfish bastard here. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. And again, co-op games, all that, I'm like, meh, whatever. But this, I just found this to be quite a lot of fun. Like, your 4 characters are quite open, at least in the campaign. They're not pigeonholed with like, so and so is your medic, this is your assault character, this is your whatever. All of these characters can be used in whatever way you would like. The difference with Back 4 Blood, and where some variance comes into play, is the card system.
Right.
And this is essentially where you can buff your character. So at the end of each round, well, you start with a selection of cards, and there is some attributes, some buffs on each individual character when you start the game. Like, somebody will have damage resistance, and they'll also add, X amount percentage more to the team stamina or whatever it is. Or another character, the character I was playing as, I think it had like 1 free revive, or something like that, for each member of your team. And yeah, anyway, at the end of each mission, you're presented with a selection of cards, and it'll be plus stamina, plus health, plus whatever it is. And you can select one of them, and they'll be added to your character for the next mission. And you keep, presumably, I mean, this is what it was when we were playing through, you keep getting more as you're playing through, and thus should end with quite a beefy character by the end of it. And you can also stack them as well. So if you keep going for health cards, it'll just keep going on top of each other until you're, I don't know, almost indestructible. Or if you just want to keep getting stamina cards or whatever it is, because your stamina is like your melee attacks and your running and all that. So yeah, the card system is new. I thought it worked quite well. At the start, it wasn't communicated terribly well. We were like, what's this about? Including those on the team that were Left 4 Dead aficionados. But yeah, you get the grips of it quite quickly. And I just like I think the open nature works quite well in the campaign, because when you're playing through the story and the missions, I suppose maybe people don't want to be just positioned as X type of character. They want to try a bit of everything, and that's the impression I got from the campaign, is that you were allowed to do that. But yeah, just quite a lot of fun. And like, people watching this now can see the amount of weapons available to you. It's ludicrous. There is so many different shotguns, just, all your different weapons types, but so many different variants of said weapon types. And there is incredible heft behind the guns as well.
Yeah, it looks fun. I think it's interesting, this one, because I think there are like, reading some of the feedback on this, I get the impression that there are some sort of like Left 4 Dead diehards who still play like, particularly like Left 4 Dead 2 religiously, who maybe like take issue with like quite a lot of subtle things about this, about how it's different, that they maybe don't like as much, or they think it isn't quite as sophisticated. But then I think there are a lot of people who, either only dabbled or didn't play the originals, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 when they first came out. And for them, they just seem to be connecting with it on like, oh yeah, it's such a solid idea and it's just so much fun that, okay, there maybe is a kind of a smarter version of this out there, but in the sort of here and now, this is like a great introduction and like no shame in absolutely enjoying it.
Yeah, see, again, I haven't played a single second of Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2, so I can't say. But like, I know Ed.
It's just, I guess the thing reaction is you see people going like, well, if you like this, oh man, you should really play Left 4 Dead 2. And you're like, yes, but also, this thing's on Game Pass, it's here, people are playing, people like sort of like quite shiny new things to play. I mean, I don't think it's like, I don't think anyone should be embarrassed to really enjoy this game, or even if it isn't maybe quite as sophisticated, or as sharp as the originals. Like fundamentally, kind of who cares?
Did you play Left 4 Dead?
I played more of Left 4 Dead 1 than Left 4 Dead 2. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest. I liked it. I guess I liked it enough, but I didn't play it like religiously. Like I played through the kind of campaign stuff once or twice and went, yep, that was that. And then all my friends moved on. But I think that's more to do with, not having a big group who are super into it.
Because we had, so like the Left 4 Dead newbies on our team would have been myself and Catherine, while the Left 4 Dead fans would have been Ed and Alice. Yeah. And Alice has told me she put in like a stupid amount of time into Left 4 Dead, specifically Left 4 Dead 2. And she fell for this like hook, line, and sinker. But
that's great. I shouldn't base things anecdotally on,
But there has been
what comments say under the damn videos and stuff. I mean, these, who goes there for any kind of,
insight,
sustenance.
But I just thought, again, a great heft in the weapons, great choice in the weapons. The maps themselves were quite open, and there was I suppose a sense that the horde could be attacking you from any angle, or just,
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing with the fact that it is sort of like not procedurally generated, but like it puts pressure on at different times. So the same levels can. That was always the thing with Left 4 Dead. The same levels could feel very, very different. And you had different like anecdotes attached to very different runs. Certain rooms maybe felt a bit more notorious because you happened to have had a bad time there. And, it was certainly very interesting from that perspective. And I know they've got a similar thing. I've seen quite a few complaints that like the PvP versus mode in this is like quite a contained kind of horde mode thing rather than, and maybe I've read this wrong, but the Left 4 Dead had like campaign PvP where basically human players were put into the regular flow of like campaign play, where here it's a more self-contained thing.
That's my understanding of it as well. That.
So like the big complaint I do see is that like it's the campaign versus is like one of the one of the most popular things, or something that the Left 4 Dead 2 community is still super into.
Mm-hmm.
So like that isn't here. I've seen a lot of people being like, well, that seems like the most, that is provably like so popular. It's kind of mad that it isn't in here.
So I didn't get to play any of the PvP. Catherine played a bit of the PvP.
Yeah,
she wasn't.
It looked like.
Yeah, she wasn't overly impressed. So like it works that you can be either the humans or you can be the zombies. But Catherine, at least from the maps that she played, thought that the maps favored the humans a lot more than the zombies. So it gave the humans, little hidey holes to go into. that the zombies then couldn't reach, and then they could just pop off the zombies from where they were. But yeah, I don't know. Like, as you said, the versus campaign and actually allowing people to become the zombies within the campaign, apparently a big thing in Left 4 Dead. Again, Left 4 Dead knowledge, zilch. But yeah, some people cross about that. But from the, like, yeah, again, 2 hours of just the campaign, I thought this was just thoroughly enjoyable. Yeah, really, really good fun teaming up with other folks. And I'm really looking forward to playing more. I think it has. It's I don't know. It's odd that the Left 4 Dead like was nowhere to be seen, and now we are entering a 6 month to a year period, maybe more, maybe 2 years. I suppose we haven't got release dates on some of them, but yeah, we're coming into a period where just everything is going to be a co-op shooter. Like,
right.
You know, you have this, you have Rainbow Six Extraction, you have the Redfall thing, there's a few others as well.
Yeah, I mean, Redfall's quite a fair bit off, and but we don't. No one really knows what it is, but they have, like, it's what they have said implies quite a Left 4 Dead co-op-y type of shooter thing. So like. And Back 4 Blood appears to be opening the floodgates by maybe being one of the first big budget ones. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. No, I'm not. You know, I probably wouldn't play the versus mode anyway because I would just be coming in for the campaign. So if people are cross about the exclusion of that from the Left 4 Dead 2 into this, then, you know, fair enough. But I would just be coming in to play the campaign, play with a group of people, have my fun, and leave. Yeah. And I think when I will get to do that, I think it's going to be quite fun. Yeah, I think that it's on Game Pass is really smart because, you know, everyone can play it with all their friends. So, yeah, it is on the PC Game Pass, isn't it? It's not just the Xbox one.
Is that what you're Googling?
Yeah. Xbox Ultimate Game Pass. Yeah. So yeah, that's, you know, clever. Allow people to jump in. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So
I just think it's like, you do see people are like, oh God, imagine paying 50 quid for this. And it's like, I mean, you literally don't, like, there's a really cheap alternative to that. And they're like, yeah, but I don't want to do that. So imagine paying 50 quid for it. And it's like, well, yeah, I feel like you've chosen that bleak fate for yourself.
Yeah, so that is Back 4 Blood. Before we get on to more video games chat, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back right after this.
If you love online shooters, you should listen to Ultimate Audio Bang, Rock Paper Shotgun's fortnightly podcast. Every second Friday, I, Ed Thorne,
and I, Imogen Beck-Helling, chat about the latest news in Shooterland. We go in depth on Apex, Warzone, and more in our weekly talking points.
And we also tell you about the silly player names we come across.
I once played Valorant with Joey Tribbiani.
Subscribe to Ultimate Audio Bang on your preferred podcasting app, or listen to us every second Friday on rockpapershotgun.com.
Right, we're back. Thank you for staying with us here on the PC Gaming Weekspot. Matthew, you have been playing a game that is very, very different to Back 4 Blood. Or maybe it's not. I don't know much about it. Maybe there's blood and guts and gore and zombies and stuff in this as well. But yeah, please do tell me and all of our listeners and viewers about Lawn Mowing Simulator.
This is Lawn Mowing Simulator from Skyhook Games, and what you see is what you get. It is about mowing lawns on sit-on lawnmowers, which is kind of exciting, I guess. I've never owned one. I've never used one. Only ever had the push variety, so that's kind of exotic, I guess. The official spiel for this on Steam is Experience the beauty and detail of mowing the great British countryside in Lawn Mowing Simulator, the only simulator that allows you to ride an authentic and expansive roster of real-world licensed lawnmowers from prestigious manufacturers, Toro, Skag, and Stiga, as you manage your business. They sound like Borderlands guns. The Skag Grass Destroyer.
So what's the what I mean, you cut the grass, but like what is the what are you doing in Lawn Mowing Simulator?
So you're starting a lawn business, you're cutting grass. What you're watching here is a bit where you run around the lawn before you cut the grass, picking up any objects that might damage your blades. So you have to pick up like garden gnomes and rocks and things. You have to make sure the lawn's nice and clear before running back and getting on your lawnmower. So that's a fun little bit. I guess did lawn mowing people do this? I'm assuming they do. They find like flints and things. Then you mow the lawns to the specifications of your various clients. So the specification is really doesn't tend to be anything more complicated than how high do you want the grass to be. So you can set the height of your blades on a sit-on lawnmower, which someone might want their grass to be 6 centimeters tall. Mm-hmm. So you adjust it and then you drive around. And I guess the skill of the game is you're trying to do it quite fast. So, it's like an efficiency exercise. And you're also trying to avoid being fined for things like hitting flowers around the edge and chopping them up. And also if you do too tight a turn, or if you turn too much, your wheels can like leave a kind of like can sort of like damage the ground and leave like a muddy mark, which you get fined for. And so basically your job is to mow this lawn as quickly and cleanly as possible. And that's it. That's the game.
Okay. Well, what did you think of it?
It's pretty simple. It is kind of relaxing. Like the exercise of looking at this like misshapen garden and sort of working out the best strategy for it. And as you can see, I've gone for a start at the outside and work onto the inside, which, there's kind of a sort of zen-like calm that descends on you as you do this.
There's a big genre out there, all right, of these. What was the Power Wash Simulator?
That was
very popular.
The one where you fix up houses. And
House Flipper.
You have to clean them up and like you're mopping dirty stains off the floor. There's something, like a sort of monotony sort of fantasy, I guess, where you're just sort of doing something very simple. It's very relaxing. Like there's a certain skill to it, but like this, it's not like super punished if you don't hit the skill level. It's more self-imposed. So you sort of say like, well, ideally I want to do this as sort of cleanly, as smoothly as possible. Like there are some sim elements to it. Like you can damage the blades, or you can run out of fuel, or you can, the mower could fill up with grass, and then you have to go and sort of like press a button next to it to sort of fix it up and stuff. And as you cut these lawns and earn money, you can build out your business. I actually haven't shown that in the gameplay just because it's quite boring menus. But you can buy other models. You can hire like staff who go off and do like sort of AI, you sort of send them off to do missions as AI. So you don't have to cut all the lawns yourself, and you're just sort of slowly building up this little empire. It's quite generous, quite sort of hot, like relatively hard to fail as long as you just sort of take your time.
Do you ever play these types of?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I've got plenty of peers who play things like Euro Truck Simulator, and they just go for very relaxing kind of drives at night and maybe pop on a podcast or whatever. I mean, there's so many great, interesting, more active games I haven't played. I would probably still rather play those. I mean, I played this for a couple of hours yesterday, and kind of there's something slightly hypnotic about, watching this sort of like big patch of unruly grass slowly get sort of mulched back. I mean, it's kind of hard to speak to how sophisticated like the grass physics are or anything in terms of tracks. I mean, it kind of looked fine to me. You've got like various tools to help. You've got like a sort of Batman detective vision, which shows you tufts of grass you may have missed that are hard to spot.
Phenomenal.
It's not called detective vision, but you basically got like a mowing sense or something it's called. I can't remember the exact name. This is it. Like literally what you're looking at is what the game is. It's going around. Like there are more elaborate gardens. There's like a challenge mode, which gives you difficult conditions. So like you'll get given like a garden and your mower only has like 17% fuel and you've got to finish the garden with just that. So it'll put more kind of stricter limits on it. I mean, it is fundamentally just pootling around.
Does it basically just come down to you can see the allure of these types of games. It's just, it's not for you.
It reminded me a lot of House Flipper, of what I have played of House Flipper, in that it's quite simple. It's quite repetitive. Like it's not like super fiddly sort of sim-wise. The drive, I was playing this on the control pad. The driving's, quite kind of go-karty and friendly. It's not like you're wrestling with some mad sort of physics model on the lawnmower. Or maybe that's just the craftsmanship of the lawnmower and that is accurate. Maybe these things are designed for like ease of use and sort of simple pleasure. But yeah, it's like, it's fine. It's very straight-faced. I kind of like that these games like don't have like a hint of irony about them. They're just, it's a lawn mowing game. It's not like making fun of it at all. If you're into it, you're into it. Ran like a bit of a pig on my PC. I don't know if it's because like there's some, weirdly. That might just be my stuff PC, but like the I guess with all like the grass wafting around and lots of individual blades of grass, I don't know. Like you will probably end up feeling quite envious of other people's nicer houses and gardens. Like if you're a bit of a kind of class warrior, you probably won't enjoy this because it's just sort of like very much working for the haves. But I can't really think of any like deeper sort of subtext to the game than that. You'd be like, I'm gonna fuck this garden up. Screw you.
Very good, very good. Another game I have played over the last week is out on early access right now.
Oh.
And I've played through the available portion, what's there at the minute, and that is Death Trash. So this got a lot of buzz. Oh, God. A month or two ago, during the last Steam Next Fest thing, when people were playing the demo, people were really falling for it. I didn't play it at the time, but yeah, I have since played through everything that's available to early access players at the minute, which is probably about, and I've rinsed it too, I've done side quests and all that, probably, I want to say like 4.5 hours or so. So what it is it is an action RPG, retro looking. Some people have compared it to like the original Fallout, but its combat is all real time. And you're this character that has been cast out from their home because you were infected. And your home is like run by robots and all that. The world is there's a sort of there's a battle seemingly in the world between like androids and meat, actual like just like people who like basically meat has become sentient and it's growing in this world, and some people praise the meat and think the meat is terrific, whilst others think the
meat is terrific.
Other people, they do. They're like, oh yeah, the meat is fantastic. Praise the meat, etc., etc. Whilst other people think they don't particularly trust the meat. And yeah, you go through this world, chatting to NPCs, picking up quests, and also battling people as well in encounters. Now, I can't tell from, again, 4.5 hours of play how deep the RPG-ness gets, because again, a lot of people have compared this to Fallout, and when I think Fallout, you know, you're going to be thinking of like factions, and if you choose this faction, that's going to lock off quest lines on the other faction, or it's going to make them cross at you, etc., etc. In what's available in early access, I haven't come across that, right? It does seem like there could be some of that within the game, but I haven't seen it. What I've seen is quite a straight-laced, you're given a quest, go to this area, talk to this person, kill these baddies for them, they'll give you XP and a trinket or money or whatever it is. Yeah, but I suppose like you do have like, you know, you do have a level, you do have skill points, and you can put your you can craft your character however you wish. So, you know, it's RPG in that nature. But yeah, with like, I don't know. I suppose the thing that you'll notice when playing this straight away is it is tough. Like from the get-go, it's communicated quite well that the combat revolves around you constantly moving. It's a very stick and move game. You can have one ranged weapon, a gun or whatever, and one melee weapon, but the combat is very frantic, and you're often similar to Back 4 Blood, I suppose. You know, when you come into an area, you won't be spotted by one enemy. There'll be like 4 of them, and they will just go for you. And there's a little bit like within these encounters, there's a little bit. The first time you happen upon it, you'll die. You may die like 2 or 3 more times. There's a bit of a learning curve in recognizing, right, when I come into this area, there are 3 enemies over here. There's another one of this particular type in this direction. And I don't know, that can become a little, like, I won't lie, I was becoming a little bit tired of it because it was just like, can you just piss off? I really want to get to the next bit. But there is also a great deal of satisfaction when you actually take down the baddies, I guess. It did enough for me to make me interested in checking out when there is a future update and seeing what the full game will be, because the developers Crafting Legends have said that the full game will be about 20 hours, I think. Right. Which, in terms of an RPG, like, yeah, sounds good to me. I don't want a 100-hour RPG.
Isn't it a one-person team?
I don't know if it's a one-person team. I believe it's a... You could be right. I thought it was just a small team.
Definitely like a labour of love. I know it's been in the works for ages.
Years and years, yeah. Yeah, very long time. But like there's some sort of there's kind of a macabre humor to it as well. Like, you know, you can vomit on command. You come across characters that are actually having a puking competition, and one of them sends you out into the woods to get a particular ingredient because it's manky and it will help them in the puking competition. There is another character that you come across who is, and a lot of this was in like the side quests, so I suppose maybe that's where the humor is. Another character, this blind character who you have to help get through a building, and they just shoot like randomly in different directions. It reminded me a little bit of the Lomax character in Psychoville. Yeah, like I thought there was enough here to make me interested in playing it, playing any future updates, anything else that comes into play. The combat is, you do have to get used to that. Combat is quite unforgiving. You will get hit a lot, But yeah, there's some satisfaction in actually finishing those encounters. So yeah, that's Death Trash. So I suppose
That's
it's
Death Trash. Very different energy to Lawn Mowing Simulator.
Very. It's worth remembering that if you want to get this. I don't know how much it is on Steam, but it is available now. I think it might be about £20, give or take. I'll check that very quickly. But it is, yeah, it's early access. Like if you buy an early access game, yeah, it's actually on sale at the minute, $15.29. You have to accept that you're not going to be getting a fully fledged game. You're with early access. You're coming on for the ride. So keep that in mind if you like the look of Death Trash. So those are the games that we've been playing over the past week. So now it's time to test the knowledge of one another in a little game we like to call Mystery Steam Reviews.
It's time for Mystery Steam Reviews. Yeah.
Yes, Mystery Steam Reviews is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where I, Colm Ahern, and he, Matthew Castle, test the knowledge of one another via Steam reviews that are a mystery. And the rules are as follows. Both I and Matthew bring 3 Steam reviews to the MSR arena, but we omit the name of the game associated with each review. Our opponent must correctly guess the game attached to each review. One correct answer equals 1 point. While both of us have 90 seconds on each MSR, we both also have help in the form of 3 lifelines. These lifelines can be used at any stage during battle and also pause the 90-second timer. Each lifeline, however, can only be used once and once only, and they are as follows. Publisher, where the hot seat haver learns the publisher of the game. A second opinion, where a second review is given to the fiery chair sitter. And genre, where the genre of the game is revealed to the one, and never has this been more apt, with the warm arse.
Why is that apt?
Well, Matthew, because this week's theme is all about romance. Because...
What's that got to do with warm arses?
Well... Come on, Matthew. It's got a lot to do with warm arses. So, yeah, basically video games that have romance options, not video games that just
I've
have
been doing romance wrong.
a romantic story. Ones where you can choose between characters, and it is fairly... We've left it pretty open. It's up to interpretation to whatever you want. So, yeah, let's see how we get on. Matthew, here is your very first Mystery Steam review. It's a bit like a funny slapstick version of The Matrix. Overall, this is a very entertaining game. Glad I bought the Century Edition, and that's from Bootsy. It is recommended 43.5 hours on record, 22.9 hours at review time. Matthew, your time starts now.
I mean, God. Slapstick version of The Matrix. The Century Edition. I have not heard of the Century Edition, so I'm going to ignore that. I mean, only because we mentioned it earlier in the show, there's Saints Row, which is a bit Matrixy. But does the Saints Row games have romance in them? I don't know the Saints Row games well enough. I think they do have romance in them. I think it's a bit like, sort of, a little bit Mass Effect-y. Which Saints Row was that? Oh, there's one which is called like Enter the Cyberbollocks or something. Is it that? It feels like it's that. Saints Row. Which one is that? There's the one where you become the president. That's 4. Is that the same thing? Oh Jesus, what is it called? Is it enough just to say Saints Row 4, or is it a DLC? Like there's Gat Out of Hell. There's that one. That's the Hell one. I don't think there is a 5. I think it's 4. I think 4 is the one which was a bit like the Matrix. I'm gonna say Saints Row 4.
Is that your final answer?
I think so. I can't think of any other games which are like the slapsticky version of the Matrix.
So, the slapsticky Matrix.
Unless it's freaking the slope, whatever it is, mine called Pedro.
That led you to
Uncle Pedro.
Saints Row.
Maybe.
And which we had spoken about earlier on during this episode of the PC Gaming Weekspot. Maybe it tweaked something in your head. Is it Saints Row? Is it one of the side spin-offs? Is it which Saints Row could this be? You've ended up on Saints Row 4. And I can tell you, Matthew, that the correct answer is Saints Row 4.
Oh, that's the one where you become president at the start, right?
That is the one where you become president at the start.
How does it then go Matrixy? I can't remember the story.
I can't. But
is it aliens?
I believe so. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the romance options is that you have a crew and you can just have sex with anyone you want on the crew. Matthew, could I have my first Mystery Steam review, please?
Save files are enormous for no real reason. Combat is agonising. It won't stop trying to shove a card game down my throat. Quests are muddled and annoying to try and complete more than one at a time. Trying to improve your gear is an RNG fest and dull at best, says Elmjack. They do not recommend this game with 36.5 hours on record.
Time starts now. That's a lot of time to put into something to then go, yeah, not for me. Right. There's one that sticks out in my head, and there's one part of this that really feels more important than the rest, and that is the shove a card game down my throat.
Maybe it's a trap.
Maybe it's a trap. But yeah, that makes me think of Gwent. Because in that, as Geralt, you can romance Triss and Yennefer. Talks about gear. I think this is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now I'm trying to think. I don't know if Dragon Age has a card game. I don't know enough about Dragon Age. The thing is to whether to use a lifeline or just go for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I'm going to say The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I'm going to take a punt.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, Chris, that is my final answer.
So, you focused in here on the line, shove a card game down your throat. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt does have a card game, but so do many other RPGs. The correct answer is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Yes!
I knew it. When I wrote that one down, I was thinking that card line is maybe a bit easy, but should probably. I was really umming and ahhing about it. I now hate my past self.
Matthew, your second Mystery Steam review is as follows. I love this game so much. This game is an adult and mature-oriented puzzle video game, described by me as an, quote, unconventional romantic horror. The story involves so much drama. Also, the soundtrack is great. And that's from Arctonine. It is a recommended 14.8 hours on record, 2.4 hours at review time. Matthew, your time starts now.
Adult, mature-oriented puzzle video game. I say it's an unconventional romantic horror, but we don't know if this person's like a maniac or not. So
described by me.
Described by me, which could mean anything. Described by me as a highly interactive sandwich. You're like, well, okay, but it's not how this works. Give me the publisher for this.
Okay, pausing the timer at 58 seconds. As Matthew uses his publisher lifeline. The publisher of this video game is... Let me find it here. Where is the publisher? Oh, here. Publisher of this is Sega. Publisher of this game is Sega. Restarting the timer, 58 seconds now.
Sega. Romance. Horror. Puzzle. Sega. Not a Yakuza game. Horror. Sega. Romance. Horror. But Sega published this. Wow. What is second opinion, please?
Oh, pausing the time. Oh no. Shit. Why is the timer not pausing? I'll give you an extra couple of seconds. 22 seconds it paused at, but you probably get an extra 5 or so.
Oh, thank you.
Don't get smart with me just because you're
so
under pressure.
5 extra seconds.
Alright. Second opinion of this is one of those games that should be played once in your lifetime. It is an extremely hard puzzle game with an interesting cast of characters and a well thought out story that will leave you hooked until the end. Get this game so we can get other exclusives onto PC. I'll leave a bit of a grace period there for the old timer. And unless you want to use your genre, I shall restart the timer, 22 seconds.
Restart
now.
I mean, the only thing I think this could be is Persona 4 Golden, but I wouldn't say puzzle game. Puzzle? It's not a puzzle game. What the fuck is it? It's not a puzzle game. But it's nightmarish. It's a bit horror-y, a little bit. Oh, Jesus. Persona
Doom?
4 Golden.
Doom : Persona 4 Golden. Alright. So, this one stumped you a little bit. Quite descriptive, described by that person as a mature puzzle horror game or whatever it was. The publisher, Lifeline, revealed it to be Sega.
You play
Second
it only
opinion spoke about wanting more exclusives on PC, implying that this was initially not on PC and then came to PC. You've ended up on Persona 4 Golden. I can tell you, Matthew, that the correct answer is Catherine.
Oh, Catherine! Oh, of course it is. Puzzle game. Persona 4 isn't a puzzle game. I just assumed it was an idiot. That's my problem. I assume so many people are dumb. And it's always the undoing of me. If only I could learn a bit of respect for a fellow man, but unfortunately I can't. Because I've read their Steam reviews. I know what people are like. Of course it's Catherine. Oh, right, develop. I was completely in the wheelhouse. Oh, I was just a game adjacent to it. Piss.
Matthew, could I have my second
piss.
mystery Steam review,
That
please?
was a good pick. Well picked.
Thank you.
I cringed the entire time. The dad jokes aren't even funny dad jokes, and it's decidedly PG, which is disappointing, says Starch Boy. They don't recommend it after 3.3 hours.
Time starts now. Oh, I cringed the entire time. The dad jokes aren't even funny dad jokes. That's PG. Dad jokes, cringy, PG. What were they expecting? What lifeline helps? Shit, hold on. Dad jokes, it's cringy. And it's PG. That's a funny one. Like, what were they... Is it Doom? Were they expecting... No, because that's... I mean, you go into Doom expecting something that isn't PG, and it's decidedly un-PG. Pausing timer, 31 seconds. Matthew, could I use my... Could I have my publisher?
The
Please?
publisher is Game Grumps.
Restarting the timer now. Shit. They did do a game. I remember this. Right. Dad jokes. Dream Daddy. Dream Daddy, Chris.
Is that your final answer?
That is my final answer.
Well, incidentally, Dream Daddy Chris is how I like to be known in my spare time. You have focused in on this one after getting Game Grumps. But is this the game they made? The correct answer is Dream Daddy.
Matthew, your third and final Mystery Steam review is as follows. I get it when people like this game. There is always a to-do list. It brings back SNES. Memories, probably. And it's super easy to learn. For me, there was a certain point about 15 hours in that I asked myself, why am I playing this dumb game? It's repetitive and a boring supply crafting chain game. At the end of the day, you play this game because you have way too much time on your hand and you're really bored. That's from Spartan Rock. It's not recommended. 12.3 hours on record. 12.2 hours at review time. Matthew, your time starts now.
Right, SNES memories. That feels important. Why am I playing this dumb game? It's repetitive. A supply crafting chain game. What the frick does that mean? Give me the actual genre.
Okay, pause the timer at 1:13. The actual genre of this is a supply craft chain. No, it is
I was just gonna say.
It is a simulation role-playing video game. A simulation role-playing video game. Restarting the timer 1:13 now.
A supply chain game. That makes me think of like the factory, Factorio and things like that, but that's not. I'm pretty sure that doesn't have romance in it. Unless I've really misunderstood what those games are like. A supply chain game, role-playing, SNES. Maybe it's retro stuff, like supply chain game with retro. What does that even mean? Oh no, I know what it is. This is farming one. Like it's like Harvest Moon. Stardew Valley. I think. SNES. Romance the other farmers. Yeah.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
A supply chain crafting game, or whatever it was.
It's not a very sexy way of describing this, but if it is this.
The genre revealed it to be a simulation, life simulation, role-playing game, whatever it was, which has led you to say Stardew Valley. But is it the right answer, Matthew? The correct answer is Stardew Valley. Well done, you pulled that one out of the bag right at the death there, Matthew. Could I have my third and final Mystery Steam review, please?
If you want to see all of the story content, you'll have to make run after run after run to feed the endless roguelike casino, when the core gameplay is really nothing more than a gussied up version of Turtles in Time. It says Cats and Brow, not recommended after 27.2 hours.
Time starts now. Ooh. Okay, so it is a roguelike. If you want to see all of this, you'll have to make run after run to feed the endless roguelike casino. Nothing more than a gussied up version of Turtles in Time. So it is a co-op brawler with roguelike elements? Or is it just a brawler? Hold on. Pausing the timer at 59 seconds. Matthew, could I have my second opinion and genre, please?
If you like playing the same 4 levels over and over to the narration of effeminate male voices, this is your game.
Okay.
And what's the other one? Genre. This is a roguelike action dungeon crawler.
Okay, restarting the timer 59 seconds now. A roguelike action dungeon crawler. If you like playing the same 4 levels over and over to...
The narration of effeminate male voices.
Roguelike... Turtles in Time brawler. With romance options. Jesus! Is it obvious? Effeminate male narration, it said, is it?
It's the narration of effeminate male voices. In the opinion of this reviewer.
Run after run. Hades. Fucking back of the net. Hades.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer, Chris.
Very overconfident. Why the sudden confidence burst?
I was just... roguelike with romance options. Narration with effeminate male voices. Brawler, like the Turtles in Time, like a brawler. 4 levels.
The correct answer
No, if it's not.
is... Hades. Fair play. Fair play to you.
Thank you. That was good. That was good clues. Good, very descriptive, like, reviews. Yet still enough to.
Well, that's what I was going for. That's what I was going for.
It's the trick to a good mystery Steam review.
Yeah, I'm more interested in the episode being good rather than my performance being good.
Of course.
Because, you know, a natural born entertainer.
Nothing if not a professional. So that is Mystery Steam Reviews for this week. So now, Matthew, it is time to answer some questions. So let us burn this man. Yes, burning questions is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where we indeed take your burning questions, your correspondence. You can email us at any stage throughout the week, weekspot@rockpapershotgun.com, and then we may read it out on this very show. So we start off, Matthew, you'll be surprised to hear, with Mog. Mog gave us £10 during the YouTube premiere of the last episode of the Weekspot. Thank you very much, Mog. You're just an absolute delight. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Mog said, I'm really sorry, Matthew, but I'm going to ask you to talk about the Steam Deck again. The Steam Deck reveal reminded me of the buzz around iOS gaming in the early days of the App Store. What do you think the future holds for phone/tablet gaming in the Steam Deck/Switch era?
I mean, it'll be fine and continue to be absolutely massive. Like
that, yeah.
Is my not very sophisticated take.
That would be, that would be my thought as well. Whilst in our world, phone games and iOS, it fluctuates the interest. Like a couple of years ago when you got some developers doing slightly different things, then you'll get a bit of buzz around a handful of games. Then it'll go away for a while. And then Apple Arcade is introduced and people go, oh, look, there are these cool games again. And then the interest will die down again. But always and forever, you have your Candy Crush types just constantly generating revenue.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
phone games are ever present.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically that. Like, in our bubble, we think we're the big I am, but actually, we're the small bit.
Exactly. Yeah, just absolutely.
So, yeah, it'll be fine. I don't think Steam Deck. I genuinely, I don't think Steam Deck's gonna like have any of the kind of success or reach of like the Switch at all. Like, I think it will be relatively big, but it's just not on the same level, of what in terms of how they're pushing it and talking about it, and it feels like a niche hobbyist thing. And that's not to knock it. It's just I don't feel like they're talking about it in the same way. There's this. You just look at how they've talked about it in terms of where they've chosen to talk about it. The difference between being like an international company, which is introducing its hardware globally at E3 or with big conferences or whatever, and a company that chooses to reveal it on one gaming website. I don't know, it just feels completely different to me.
Thank you very much for the question, Mog. Jonathan got in touch. Jonathan said, "Hi fellas, Skate 3 is finally playable on PC. Yes, it's only currently possible through streaming with Game Pass, but surely this brings us one step closer to the fully inclusive gaming utopia that we all long for. My question, have you ever tried your hand at skateboarding? And if so, how shit were you? Much love, Jonathan." Thank you very much, Jonathan. Matthew, did you ever get radical and gnarly with the boys?
No, I am like the least coordinated person you've ever met. Like I just can't do. I'm not very good with my feet in terms of like I can't do any of the foot sports. So like
it's quite a lot of them.
Well, the foot navigating activity. Apart from outside of walking, I can walk, but like ice skating, roller skating, skateboarding, I can't do any of those. I think I've stood on a skateboard. I think I've sat on a skateboard and gone down a small slope. But like that's not skateboarding. If you did that at the Olympics, everyone would be like, "Uh-oh."
What a visionary. Incredible.
Like Team GB really shit the bed. Like what was bloke? He just sat on the skateboard and went down one slope and then that was it. And he got, what was that? No points. Oh, okay.
There was a period there in the early 2000s where skateboarding was absolutely huge and I was well up for it. I had a friend who was quite good at
He was called Tony Hawks.
Got interested. Got interested at about the same time.
Yeah.
And he was pretty decent at it. How shit was I, Jonathan? Words can't describe. I was horrendous. And a lot of that is down to the fact that I, like Matthew, if I don't have solid ground underneath me, I freak out. I do not like it. Yeah. I went ice skating once, I think, in my life, and I was kind of peer pressure. It was a horrible time in my life where, went to the ice skating rink, stuck on the boots, went through the little flappy door, and as soon as my feet were on the ice, I was like, no, get me out of here. But sadly, you can't just go through the door and go out. You have to do one lap of the ice of the rink. So I, like a terrified cat, was just gripping along to the railing and walking around. It was such a horrible experience that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
Go flying past you, so you feel really bad.
Yeah.
I used to dread. If anyone ever had ice skating birthday parties when I was a kid, it'd be like, to my parents, like, please don't make me go. Like, please don't make me go to the ice skating rink. I remember going to one and just, having to spend like, an hour of doing the ice rink side shuffle. And then to make matters worse, afterwards, we were having like, this is a really sad story. Food and drinks at the ice skating rink. I remember some horrible girl put a load of pepper in my slush puppy. And that's why I hate ice skating.
I understand it. There's a lot of... sorry,
I've suddenly come flooding back to me. But
I feel like we've unearthed some horrible memories. I do apologise, Matthew. So we will we will do one more very quickly because I know I don't want to bring up any more horrible memories. We'll see how we do with this question.
Thanks for your question, then, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. From Ryan in Tennessee, Ryan said, "Ahoy! I'm playing through Dishonored 2 for the first time, taking the non-lethal route. Instead of killing one of my targets, the game had me fry his brain with an electroshock machine, rendering him a vegetable. After you do this, the NPC begs you to kill him. The whole thing made my stomach turn. It was the only time I can recall a video game making me feel like a moral monster. What is something you've done in a video game that made you feel like a horrible person?" Ryan in Tennessee. Put pepper in a slush puppy when you were forced to do that in Grand Theft Auto.
Listen, I shared that. I bared my soul with you, and you're already taking the piss.
Sorry. Yeah, I do apologize.
Unbelievable.
I shouldn't. Yeah, can you? I mean,
I don't like. The thing is, I do a lot of horrible stuff in games, and then I just tend to cackle and forget about it
because it's a computer game.
Because it's an outlet for doing like. I can't think of many games where they've deliberately presented like a moral decision where I've done something horrible or felt like I had to do something horrible and felt bad about it. I've done stuff which, if you presented it to me in the cold light of day in front of like my friends and family, they might be like, ugh, and I might feel bad about it. Like, riding your horse really fast in Red Dead and then shooting it in the head while you're riding it so that it sort of flips over and stuff and like stuff like that. But everyone does that. That's why that's kind of why everyone likes Rockstar games. We all pretend it's because they're so sophisticated in their storytelling, but it's actually because we like tying people up and putting them on train tracks and watching trains run over them. That's what video games are about. They're about being a maniac. And you can pretend they've grown up and that we're more sophisticated, but we're not.
It's a tough question to answer because, like a lot of video games involve you being given a gun and you're told, shoot all of these people, and then you go, okay, and you do it. I don't know.
I don't know if it just speaks to me being just desensitized to all violence, but I can't. I genuinely struggle to think of anything in game where I've been yikes. But that's because I don't think games would ever ask me to do like the few things which would be like, I can think of things where I'd be like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't ever ask you to do that.
I can remember being a little bit upset. Again, I don't know, maybe I'm embellishing for this question, but being a little bit upset for when the game was asking me to kill the boss at the end of Metal Gear Solid 3. But at the same time, was I? I mean, it was like, oh, this is a character and she's been introduced in this game and just such a massive character and like da-da-da. I don't know, upset, maybe not. Like, Papers, Please is a game that does... Like, you're given maybe tough moral decisions about letting somebody through and... But I don't know if I was ever... I don't know how upset I was, to be brutally honest. Like, I don't know, like, in Ryan's words, I don't know if it would have made my stomach turn.
Yeah. But I feel embarrassed that I can't think of a good example to, like, reaffirm my humanity. But, yeah.
So, absolute monsters here on the PC Gaming Weekspot.
I just think that when that girl put that pepper in my slush puppy, something in me died.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've never really, I guess, like, truly felt anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably that.
And for me, it was when I saw my friend Tony become very successful at skateboarding. It was... Just resented him for the rest of my life. Thank you very much for your questions, everyone. If you want to send in your questions, email us at weekspot@rockpapershotgun.com. So, that just about does it for this episode of the PC Gaming Weekspot. Thank you very much, dear viewer, for viewing, dear listener, for listening. If you want more of us or other ways to support the show, there are ways, and I'm about to tell you, I'll do it now. You can follow us on social media. I am at Colm_Ahern. Matthew is at Mr. Basil_Pesto. And Rock Paper Shotgun is at Rock Paper Shot. If you want to talk to some like-minded people, head on over to Discord, discord.gg/Rock Paper Shotgun. If you want to watch the PC Gaming Weekspot, go to youtube.com/Rock Paper Shot. Or if you want to listen to the audio version of the PC Gaming Weekspot, you can subscribe to our podcast. You can subscribe to all of Rock Paper Shotgun's podcasts. Just search for us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so on. If you want some RPS t-shirts, go to store.readpop.com, click on the Rock Paper Shotgun logo, and there's a couple of them there. If you want to support rockpapershotgun.com, the website, go to rockpapershotgun.com/subscribe, and you're able to get an ad-free website, some extra articles, extra podcasts, some exciting stuff. But do remember, for all of your PC gaming needs, go to rockpapershotgun.com. That's just about does it for another edition of the PC Gaming Weekspot. Matthew, we are edging ever closer to video games coming back again. It's scheduled to happen about mid to late August. So
Video games are back. I just took 10 minutes on Lawn Mowing Simulator.
I do apologise.
You think you're better than Lawn Mowing Simulator?
I most certainly do not. I most certainly do not. So that just about does it for this edition of the PC Gaming Weekspot. But now it's time for my least favourite part of the show. Now it's time, Matthew, to bid the listener, the viewer, adieu. So say goodbye, Matthew Castle.
Goodbye.
And say goodbye, Colm Ahern, Sloan, Guffaw.